Hi, today we've got Eilish speaking to us from Lancashire. Hi, Eilish, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you, Sheila.
Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself then and your stroke story.
I had a stroke in the first lockdown. Um, it was back in May, last May, and I was just in bed, just reading, and all of a sudden, just like that, everything just went totally dizzy, and I couldn't make head or tail of it, and it was just like in a split second everything just went completely dizzy. I felt very breathless. I had a kind of tingling sensation on the right side of my face and my arm. um but earlier that night, I'd had a migraine. So, and migraine, I've had them since I was about 16, and I get very sick, and vomit and whatnot. It's not very pleasant. So, it wasn't, although I knew something was going on, it wasn't completely alarming in the sense that I thought, well, this could just be a horrible migraine. And obviously, at the age of 25, the last thing I thought I was having was a stroke. I thought I was just experiencing a terrible migraine, maybe some labyrinthitis kind of thing. And I mean, I was being very sick, so there really wasn't time to um understand. I didn't really have time to understand what was going on. And yeah, it was looking back, it was alarming, but at the time you just think, oh, I just need to rest. If I sleep a bit, this is going to go away. But the next day, it didn't, and the symptoms of the migraine had gone, so I wasn't being sick anymore, and my headache had eased, but I was still really dizzy, and I had double vision, and I was really uncoordinated, like completely uncoordinated, really struggled to walk. So we thought we'd just leave it a little bit because I hadn't really managed to sleep at all.
Yeah.
So got to like 7 p.m. And still no change. So we phoned 111, and they said, we think you're probably okay, because I could talk and everything. I didn't have a dropped face or anything. But they said, but you sound really uncoordinated, so we're going to get some paramedics to come out and look at you.
Mm.
And they said the same. They said, you're probably okay, but you are strangely uncoordinated. So thankfully they took me to A&E, and it was there that they said you've had a stroke. And I just, in complete disbelief, I just couldn't believe what was happening. I just thought there's got to be some mistake. And obviously it was really scary because with it being COVID, I was there on my own, and I was in London, so I was about 6 hours away from where my parents live, and my boyfriend wasn't able to come with me. So I was just in the stroke ward, just
Yeah.
in shock. And I was so uncoordinated that even just like unlocking my phone to be able to call somebody or text somebody, like that was just an impossibility, really. That was too hard to do. So I just felt very isolated. Um, and then sadly, when I was in hospital, things just got worse. Like I went in, I'm able to talk pretty much, and um able to kind of walk.
Mm.
But like when I left, I couldn't really talk at all. I found it really difficult to walk. I was incredibly uncoordinated, and I had like complete double vision. So while I was there, it was very hard to like take my mind off what was going on, because I couldn't read, couldn't write, I couldn't phone my family, couldn't really speak to anybody. So it was, yeah, it was just like a very isolating experience, and I was just really scared. Like I thought I was going to die. I just felt so awful. in every way, like complete illness all over. I thought I was going to die. And eventually, I did get to come home, and people were told me in the hospital, and people told me at home, that I'll get better. But it was so hard to believe them because I just felt so ill, and I just felt like I was getting worse. Like every day, I would lose the capacity to do something else. So I just didn't know how low I could go. I didn't know how bad this was going to get. Um, and yeah, coming home was really hard because I think my family and my boyfriend were just kind of reeling from the whole incident, and they didn't know how to. I mean, nobody knows, like, when a stroke happens to you, nobody knows how to handle it.
Yeah.
Um, so they're just like in shock themselves, and I think I was very depressed and feeling very, very low in those first couple of weeks. Like, I felt very suicidal, and I think that was a really scary experience for my family, I mean, and for me. But they don't know how to handle these things.
Yeah.
And that was I know now that it's a common feeling to have when you feel like you don't have any control. It's the last thing you think you should be able to control, is whether you're here at all. You feel you should be able to control that. But that was taken away from me as well. So
Mm.
it was just, I felt very depressed, and yeah, very kind of trapped and isolated. Like, I had no expression. No, I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't express myself in any way. Needed help with absolutely everything, like everything you can possibly imagine, like full-time care. Couldn't dress myself, brush my teeth, have a shower, go to the toilet. Even like shuffling in bed was just, I couldn't even do that. I had to be like positioned into comfy situations. Couldn't like pull a blanket up, or like, I remember like trying to pull a blanket up with my teeth because I couldn't actually like use my arms. Or if
Yeah.
I managed to get it over myself, I would then inadvertently knock it off myself again.
Yeah.
So it was just a really, those first few weeks were really hard. And I had a few panic attacks and stuff. Um, and another strange symptom at the time was I I really struggled to sleep. I was very tired, but I couldn't sleep because everything felt like metal. I think the part of my brain where I had my stroke
Mm.
was at the base of my skull here, and so it affected quite a lot of things. It affected. I was fully there
Yeah.
in my mind. I understood everything. Understood what people were saying, understood how to speak, how to do things, but I had like the body of a toddler.
Yeah.
Um, and I just couldn't actually do any of those things. Um, so yeah, one of the weird symptoms, though, apparently, I think this is where this part of the brain can affect your senses. So yeah, whenever I closed my eyes, everything would feel like metal. It was the strangest feeling. Like, my skin felt like metal. I would feel like I'd close my eyes and I'd feel like the pillow sharpen, and like, I can't describe it, but it was, and I'd feel the blanket sharpen as if it was made out of sheets of
Mm.
metal. It was and that made it really difficult to sleep and really difficult to feel comfortable. And then, yeah, thankfully, eventually that passed, but that was a strange experience. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, started to see some improvement, but I really didn't want to believe it. I think I'd started to come to terms with the fact that this was my new life,
Mm.
um, and this was how I was going to be. And so I really didn't want to get my hopes up. And my mum and people would be saying, "Oh, you're doing really, like, look, you've just like walked a few steps, and I just didn't want to believe it was happening, because I just didn't feel like I could go through it again.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, but actually she was right. Everybody was right. It did start to get better. Um, and I had physio and occupational therapists come to the house, and they were amazing. And I think the fact that it was the pandemic, obviously it's not an ideal time to have anything
Yeah.
go wrong, but the fact they were able to come to the house was actually amazing, because it was so hard for me to move,
Mm.
that in order for me to get to a hospital to have had the therapy would have been really hard. So
Yeah.
having them come to the house was actually amazing. And yeah, when we first started and my movements and stuff started to come back, everything was very fast and like very jerky. Like I had no control over the speed of it at all.
Mm.
And people would say like slow down, but I couldn't slow down. It was just completely out of my control.
Mm.
Um and yeah, I had to learn to do all kinds of things again, like writing was something that I had to learn how to do again. When I tried to write something down in hospital, and it wasn't until I put the pen to the paper that I realized I couldn't write. Like it just, nothing came out. Well, something came out, but I don't know what it said. Um, so yeah, eventually had to learn to do all of that again. And my mum is a primary school teacher, so she was really geared up for um showing me how to do all of these things again. So she would write, um she would kind of trace the letters, and she would write the letter and I would trace them.
Yeah.
And we did little exercises like that until I managed to build up my ability to write again. But we did all kinds of things. She had a tray of exercises to do, like putting pegs on a line, and
Yeah.
like putting pasta in the jar, winding a bobbin with wool and stuff like that. It was all really important. It was all
Yeah.
really important to just regain those motor skills again. But yeah, the writing was a was a hard one to learn how to do again. To even just to hold the pen was very difficult. Like I knew how,
Yeah.
I hadn't forgotten how, but I couldn't manipulate my fingers to do that. And if I did, even applying the pressure, the right amount of pressure, was it really, really difficult. But eventually it did come back with a lot of practice. And yeah, it's quite like a demeaning thing when you, as a grown woman, can't write your name.
Mm.
Or you write and it looks like a toddler. But eventually it did come back. I just had to keep practicing it. And I wrote a diary every day to try to help with that. And it helped. When I look back, it's actually I would recommend it to anybody who's had a stroke, that writing a diary was a really nice thing to look back at now. Like I can see the improvement. My handwriting gets better and better through the weeks, and
Yeah.
it's a nice thing. It's a nice record of it. But another thing I would say that I would recommend to anybody who's had a stroke is I wrote a letter to my friends explaining what had happened, because I think they were, all very worried. I got a lot of lovely messages and um, gifts and flowers and things, and I think I felt nervous about seeing people again, having to I didn't know where to start on what had happened to me. I didn't know where to begin. So I think I wrote this letter to them, I actually typed it, which was a really good way for me to actually practice my typing as well, because that was awful too. But it was good because it meant I didn't have to relive everything again. I could
Yeah.
just tell them what had happened and where I was at as well. So I said about I was feeling quite anxious in certain social situations. So I put that in the letter to explain the things that I'm still struggling with. And yeah, so I think,
Weird.
yeah, it really did help actually. Just it released a lot of anxiety because I
Mm.
felt like um it was all, because it was COVID as well. It was all a bit mysterious, like what had happened, because
Yeah.
none of your friends can see you and nobody can come and
Yeah.
visit. So it was all like it had happened. It was all a bit mysterious. But yeah, so I would recommend that. And then yeah, my speech was another thing that needed a lot of work. Eventually, after, well, there was about 2 weeks, maybe a week, where my family just couldn't understand me at all. I just had no, it just completely unintelligible.
Mm.
But eventually it did start to come back. Again, just had to practice and practice. And I had a speech therapist who did our sessions over Zoom, and she was fantastic. And oh, having the sessions over Zoom, I think I thought that might be hard because of like signal connection and things like that. But
Yeah.
actually, it was great. It was really great, and she was so thorough. Um, but like my motor skills, everything at the beginning was very fast. Like I couldn't slow down my speech. It was, once it started to come back, it was so fast. It was like I couldn't control it. It's like if I
Yeah.
read something, I'd try and say it in 1 second. um and I had a weird phase where if we're watching TV, I would I would copy what the actors were saying. That was a really strange one, but like completely involuntary. So
Oh gosh.
if there's like an episode of Friends on or whatever, I would just be copying everything the actors were saying. I couldn't help it. I don't know what was going on in my brain, like trying to rewire something there, but it was very strange. And I went through phase of it being like I had no volume, like everything was very quiet, no inflection, no tones, just completely monotone,
Mm.
totally flat. But eventually it did start to come back with the practice of the therapist, and we did tongue twisters and all the usual stuff. Um, and I think I mentioned this to you before, but I had a weird, once it did start to come back, I had a weird like German accent, which um, was really quite nice. It made me sound very intelligent. I quite liked it. That was one thing I was quite happy to keep, but sadly it did go away eventually. But I think it's just relearning to talk again. It was I don't know what's going on in my brain, but obviously some major rewiring was done.
Well, that's it, and it sounds like when you say you're repeating, the TV and everything, it's like toddlers when they first discover they can talk. If they hear you say something, they repeat it. Just
Yeah,
it's almost like a way of practicing. So your brain must have been, because you'd had to go sort of back to the beginning again. It was like your
yeah,
your brain was going through all these motions that happens to toddlers when
yeah,
they first
yeah,
learn language, apart from the German accent.
yeah. From the German. It was like being a baby again, learning how to do everything again,
Mm,
except what it is you need to do. It's not like you're trying to work out out how to,
Mm.
you understand the concepts, like, I understood how to hold a knife and fork, like,
Yeah.
I understand the concept of it, but the actual doing of it, it's like, I was saying to my mum the other day, it's a bit like how it was trying to get your arms and legs. It was, imagine your limbs have been replaced with like plastic mannequin limbs.
Yeah.
It was like that. It's like trying to make that hold a knife and fork. It was just
Well,
impossible.
it's
Um,
almost like your brain wasn't connected to your body. Your brain knew what to do, but you
yeah,
couldn't tell your body what to do. But
yeah,
then
yeah,
eventually the connections were made and you could do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. I think that's the thing. It was like I felt so trapped because I was all there in my head.
Yeah.
Everything was the same in my head, but I couldn't express myself in any way at all. Um, and yeah, it's just bizarre. I mean, the brain is a wonderful thing. I don't know how it's rewired itself, but it has, and I'm very glad.
So
um,
what would you say was the, I mean, there was lots of things you couldn't do, but what would you say to you, for you, was the scariest thing that you couldn't do for a while? For me, it would be not talking, I think, because you know, communication is everything. But what was it for you?
um, yeah, I don't know. Um, I think I would agree. It was the not talking, because I think you get, I don't know whether you found this, but I felt like once I lost the ability to talk, and then it came back very gradually. Um, but I felt I had kind of gotten used to being like quite silent,
Hmm.
and then I found it quite hard to just join in with small talk and things like that. It all felt a bit strange once it started to come back, and I found that really hard to like engage with people in a like a normal way. I felt like I had been kind of silent for so long. Oh, nobody could understand me, and I think I it's a funny thing because you realize, like, I mean, we all say a lot of things, and I think once that was taken away,
Hmm.
I realized that I I really didn't need to say anything. Like, often I would be sat and my family would be having a conversation, and somebody else would say what I was thinking, like what I would have inputted into that
Yeah.
conversation. And my family got really good at interpreting what I might want, or if I need to go to the toilet or something. Like, they became very in tune with all of that. So it was kind of like a I didn't really need to say anything as
Hmm.
well. So it was all quite strange. I think I that's something that even now I feel, um it's I don't know, it's like you regain the ability to communicate, but sometimes now I wonder, like, sometimes I say things, I think you didn't really need to say that, like, I find
Yeah.
we all talk about things, and then you think, don't sometimes I just say it because it's like it's just your ego, like, you want to say something,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But you don't really need to say it. Don't know, that probably sounds a bit weird.
Do you still feel now, if you're, say there was a, you know, a family situation and everyone's talking, do you still feel now that sometimes you want to remain silent and let everyone else do the talking and you're doing the listening?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I do.
I don't know what it is. Whether it's a confidence thing or not. Because that's how I feel, especially if I'm fatigued and I'm not 100% sure of what's going to come out. I
Mm.
just go quiet and let everybody else do the talking, which is very unusual.
No, I completely agree with you. I think um, I I do the same, and I'm quite happy to just sit and listen. I think in the past where I've been pre-stroke, trying to fill the gaps, like fill the silence,
Yeah,
and I think now I don't really do that anymore. I don't feel the same pressure to fill the spaces, which I don't know. I think it's probably a good thing for my confidence in that. I think I think one thing that the stroke made me realize is that it was like I'd had a stroke. I'd lost the ability to communicate and to walk and everything. And the world just like keeps turning, like everything just
yeah,
carries on. And I think it made me realize that I think in the past I have felt pressure in social situations to, like I say, fill the silence. But I realized once I had the stroke that actually those situations they'll just carry on. It will all be
yeah,
fine. You can just be quiet and sit there if that's what you want to do. So I don't think that was a bad thing, really.
yeah. So with the speech side of things, I know you told me before that when you're at uni, you helped out in a certain group, but I'm going to let you tell the story.
Yeah, so when I was at university, I helped with an art therapy group called Art and Aphasia, run by a group called NETA, Northeast Trusts for Aphasia. And there's about 20 adults, and we would meet once a week and make art. So it was a really nice group, and it's really ironic that the only kind of medical experience I've ever had was to do with strokes, and then I had a stroke. But but yeah, it was a funny thing because think you understand.
Hmm.
I thought I understood what those people were going through, but I didn't really understand till it happened to me. And then the penny really dropped that this is what it's like to not be able to communicate, to not have control over
Hmm.
your motor skills. So it was strange because I think you understand something and you do, but it's different when it happens to you.
That's it. Sometimes you need to experience it to understand it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and unfortunately, you did through your stroke, but it is a very frustrating thing when you've taken speech for granted, because we've all done it sort of since the age of sort of two kind of thing, just speaking. And
yeah,
you know, you just never imagine you're not going to have that. And when you don't, it's like I can't find the words to describe it really. It's really scary. It scares me
yeah,
now thinking back to when I couldn't speak,
yeah,
and for the people that that don't regain, a lot of their speech and everything, that must be so frustrating. So
yeah,
frustrating.
yeah. I think it's a it's the strangest experience, and it's so scary and isolating, and
Mm,
things you don't even think about. Like once my speech started to come back, I could maybe say a couple of things, but I couldn't I got kind of I was worried when my speech came back about situations where where it's really important that you speak
yeah,
clearly or quickly, like if somebody is in danger and you need to say stop
yes,
or help or anything. That I couldn't do that for quite a while, and that scared me because I didn't want to be in a situation where that was
mm,
necessary. um and yeah, it's like it's all well and good when you're protected in your little bubble where people are looking after you and caring for you, but out in the world, it might not be so simple.
Yeah.
And like um another thing that played on my mind a lot, when I was learning to write again, I mean, my writing was like huge, like I couldn't physically write small. um but I was thinking, this is all well and good when I've got lots of family, and I've got my boyfriend, I've got people to help me fill out forms or take notes from the
Mm.
doctors, write down telephone numbers and stuff. But if you're on your own, I mean, how do you take those notes? Or like if you need to fill out an important form, those
Yeah.
ones like little boxes, how do you fill that out if you're suffering with something like that? So that, yeah, it's just those kind of things that I just don't think you don't even think about.
No, we just all take them for granted, don't we?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
even if you had someone that filled out the form for you, being able to sign your name to,
yeah, yeah,
you know, make the form stand kind of thing.
yeah,
It
exactly.
it's certainly food for thought. So how
Yeah,
so how are you getting on now with everything?
yeah, I'm doing really well. I think I I get quite fatigued, and my vision isn't quite the same. My vision did eventually, it was very cross at first, and then it eventually kind of like went back to normal. But it's not completely back to normal. I think I struggle to, like, it's not perfectly in sync. So if I look quickly over to the right or over to the left, it's like a delayed sync.
Yeah.
So I get kind of double and then it matches up. But yeah, so that's something, and that's definitely worse when I'm tired. Definitely worse. And yeah, I do get quite anxious about some social situations still. And yeah, it's I think I feel obviously so much better. Like it's the recovery has just been amazing. But I think there's still some remnants that are things that only I can
Mm.
see, things that only I feel, that are left over from the experience. I think and it's a funny thing because I think physically I'm probably fitter than I've ever been. Because the physio was I was really determined to get back to full health, and I had
Mm.
lots of help with that from my brother, um, to get me back to full health, and better, in fact, than I was pre-stroke. But now I think a lot about, it's so important that we look after our bodies, like just for everybody, because if I'm very conscious that I regained my motor skills completely, but largely I think that was because I had kind of a residual fitness from being a teenager. Like I hadn't really
Yeah.
done much exercise in years, but I had like a residual fitness from being quite
Yeah.
an active teen. And that helped me, I think, to get back to full health. And it just made me realize, like, you just got to look after your body, haven't you? Because
Definitely.
if I'd been a lot older or I hadn't been as fit, this could have been a very different story. So yeah, I definitely think that's something that I've taken away from the experiences. I'm gonna try keep looking after it
Yeah.
and make sure that, because I mean, if this was to ever happen again, which touch wood it won't, um, it's yeah, it's a lot easier to gain your skills back if you're quite fit and you've looked after yourself.
Yeah. Definitely. And when you think it's just coming up a year since your stroke. So I mean, you think back to what you've been through in the last sort of 10, 11 months kind of thing, and it's phenomenal. It was all, the carpet was swept from under your feet. but you've regained your skills, even though, like your writing and everything, going right back to toddler days, if you like, and teaching yourself, and to do it in such a short space of time is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think, I feel very lucky that it was like watching a miracle happen. It was the
Mm,
most amazing thing to witness your body come back to life, and watch things like you can see it starting to make sense of things again. Um, and it was, yeah, it was such an amazing thing to witness and an amazing thing to share with my family and
yeah.
for them to witness too. It was a real emotional roller coaster, the whole experience, like some really hard times and really sad times. Um, but contrasted really with the elation of learning to do things again and the improvement. So it was like the lowest lows with the highest highs.
Mm,
Um, and I got to share that with my nearest and dearest. So that was actually really special. It's very hard to it was very hard to be sad once things started to really get better because it was just such a like positive experience like for all of us. It was so encouraging. And I think I got so many lovely messages from my friends and my family, and that really gave me the drive to fight to get it back. I think yeah, especially in those early days, it was really nice to have so much support from people because it did just give me the confidence to know that I had a life worth fighting for.
mm, definitely. And I mean,
Yeah.
you've touched on that, the highs and lows for you all. So, you take your mum, dad, brother, they must have been devastated when you first got out of hospital to see you, because they hadn't been with you, because they weren't allowed while you were in hospital. So, from a parent's perspective, that must have been devastating to see their young daughter so helpless. But then the highs on the other side is they
Yeah,
were able to help you, which is what you want to do as a parent. Even though they've sort of been there already with you, going through the stages of learning to write and what have you. It was just like, well, we've done this once, we can do it again. And the highs of you being how you are today must be
yeah,
brilliant for them. you know
yeah. I think all of us, we just can't believe that it happened. Like sometimes I think back to what happened and like I can like tie my shoelaces now and like brush my own teeth and it's like sometimes I do things like that and I think, wow, I can't believe that there was a point when I couldn't do this and now I'm doing it like it's nothing. Um and yeah, it was just an amazing thing to share with my family. But I think yeah, I think nobody is prepared
yeah,
for this kind of thing. You can't be. I don't think anybody can be prepared for having a stroke or what all the things that come with a stroke. Um, yeah, it's a
that's
difficult
it.
thing to comprehend.
Yeah, and he's especially, at, I'm going to say, a young age. So I'm talking sort of working age, all working ages kind of thing, is that we all need to get some kind of recovery to carry on with life, whatever that means for each individual person that's had a stroke. It's just it's just trying to claim something back, isn't it? We're
Yeah,
not ready to give up, and especially you at such a young age. So it's
yeah,
fantastic to see. how much you've recovered. But
Yeah, it's yeah, it's so nice to be here now, and like having this conversation. But yeah, like one thing I was gonna mention that I hadn't mentioned already is just on the subject of that, as I did start to regain little things, even though I was like far from a full recovery, far from being normal again.
mm,
I just you take so much pleasure in every little thing. Like you manage to do one thing, and it's like
yeah,
you take so much pleasure in um those little improvements, and that was like a really amazing experience. I felt so kind of, I think, because I felt like I had gone from nothing, like from
yeah,
zero. So every little tiny thing that I was managed to do, I was just so grateful for everything that came my way. And that was like, it's just such a strange experience, to that in contrast with the lows that I had felt
mm.
was was mad. And yeah, it was just an emotional roller coaster.
That's it. It doesn't matter how small the steps are; they're a big thing in recovery, aren't they?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's I think when you before you have a stroke and you're sort of getting on with life, you're always looking for big jumps and things and big highs and everything. But you forget sometimes that, recovery comes in little steps, but they're really, really important steps.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I think and you've got to like, it's important that you acknowledge them when they
Mm,
happen, and celebrate them, and measure them. Like
yeah,
it's really encouraging. It was really encouraging for me to see things get better every day, to actually have a like a measurement for that
yeah,
was really encouraging to know. Because once you feel like you are actually improving, it's you don't need anything else to spur you on, because you think, whoa, it's happening. I can get better.
yeah,
um I think, yeah, but it's important that you acknowledge it when it's happening, because I think like I say, I didn't want to believe it, because I was just scared that I was coming to terms with like the loss of my
yeah,
life as I know it. And I didn't want to have to lose it all over again. So, but I don't know, I think you just got to persevere and know that things really can get better. I mean, it's a funny thing, because I think at the time it felt so. Some of my physios did say, "Oh, you might want to like take a video of me, trying to walk or whatever." And I was thinking, what are you talking about? No.
yeah,
And my family were thinking, no way. And it felt wrong and like voyeuristic, and it just didn't feel right at all. Why would we want to capture something that is so painful?
yeah,
um but actually, in hindsight, I see why they suggested doing it, because I have no record of what it was like. No photographs, no videos. All I have is the diary that I wrote, which shows my writing as it got better.
yeah,
Um, and I think in some ways, I find it now hard myself even to believe that it happened, because I've got no proof and no visible symptoms
mm,
like to look at. I'm absolutely fine. Um, so yeah, I think it's a strange thing, and nobody wants to document something that's so painful. But I think in hindsight, it would have been nice to have had maybe just like a video or a photograph of something, just, and that might sound strange, but just I think it's like sometimes even I forget that it's happened, because you look at yourself and you've got it's not like I've got a big scar saying you've had a stroke.
Yeah,
So it's like sometimes I feel like you need to be reminded only because to like give yourself a break, remind yourself that you have had a stroke and that you need to rest and that you might feel tired for a while and you might feel anxious for a while or stressed. And that I think because I don't have any visible symptoms,
yeah.
I don't always give myself that break. So I think, yeah, I don't know.
I think, it's easy to forget because, your mind's playing tricks on you. You want to go back to pre-stroke life, and it's just not the same. Say you take fatigue wise and everything. Sometimes you forget that you've got to give yourself a rest, but something will jolt in and make you remember. But
Yeah,
it's it's hard to know whether having photos or a video is a good thing or a bad thing. I think it depends on you individually. It might
yeah,
remind you how far you have come, because you have come phenomenally far in a short space of time. But it's
it's a weird one because I mean, if we knew at the time that I was
mhm,
going to be fine, then you
yeah,
might have thought, oh, maybe we'll take a little picture, but we didn't know that. We thought it might be like this forever, and so, like I say, why would you want to document
yeah,
something so sad and so painful? But sometimes I think it's almost weirdly like it never happened
yeah,
because there's nothing to show for it. Like I say, the only thing I've got is the my handwriting, and sometimes I look at it and it's like, wow, yeah, that did happen.
mm,
um, and it's it's a strange thing, but I find that the diary that I kept is a really precious thing for me now. It feels like a very precious thing.
yeah. It will be. It definitely will be. And we'll need to get you to write a blog for our website sometime on that, because it'd be interesting for people to see how your writing progressed from not being able to do it to back to normal.
Yeah, 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 definitely. I it's hard to I was explaining to you before I designed this font to show that um learning how show how you learn to write again,
Yeah.
and how I mean it looks like a child's handwriting, but I've designed this font. I think I'm gonna call it dysgraphia or dysgraphic, I'm not sure. Um, but I'll hopefully have that available for people to download and raise some money for different strokes, the Stroke Association. And yeah, then people can hopefully, yeah, see the process that you have to go through. So, and obviously not everybody who has a stroke is affected
Mm.
with um agraphia, but some people are, and it's a weird experience.
Yeah, it's not learning to write isn't something I don't think we remember from when we did it first time round. So,
Yeah,
to do it again as an adult is an interesting concept and everything to share with us
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's I think it was interesting to learn it again, definitely. And I think yeah, I'm very glad that it's back. I think it's you underestimate how nice it is to be able to like express yourself. Like you can
Yeah,
write things down, you can type something or write a note on your phone. Once that is taken away from you and you can't speak, then all you can do is you just think it and it's all stuck in there, you can't let anything out.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for talking to us today, and
That's fine.
we'll
Thank you.
look forward to reading your blog sometime, and
Yeah,
we'll speak
yeah,
to you soon.
yeah. Speak to you soon. Thanks, Sheelagh.
Okay, thank you.